How's it going, guys? Welcome back to the Patriot DIY channel. In this video, I'm going to show you how to build your own cabinets just like these right here. Alright guys, we are continuing to work on this side room here in my shop. In the last video we did the walls. Now we're working on building some cabinets. Now I know cabinets can be a little intimidating for somebody that's never built them before, but hopefully we're going to be able to fix that with this video today. I'm going to go through the whole process for how to build the cabinet boxes, as well as the doors and the drawers. Now going through all that could make for a very long video, so I may decide to split this up. We'll see how it goes. But essentially what we have here is 3 different cabinet boxes, a couple with cabinet doors and one with drawers. And once you have those built, you put them all together to make your entire lower cabinet assembly. So we're gonna get in here and I'm gonna show you exactly how I did this. But first guys, if you haven't done it yet, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below, hit that notification bell and give us a thumbs up. Of course, as always, we're going to have links to all the tools we use in this project linked in the description below, as well as full step-by-step digital plans on how to build these yourself. So make sure you check out that link down below. Now let's get to work. First thing we're going to do is get our plywood cut down to rough dimensions. And the way I like to do that is with my Win track saw. The main components we're cutting out here are the sides and bottoms of our cabinets. Then we'll take these over to the table saw and get them cut down to their final dimensions. We're also going to need 4 smaller pieces called nailers. Those are typically cut to 3.5 or 4 inches. So we'll get those ripped down and I'll show you what those are for in just a minute. Now the nailers fit between our cabinet sides, so to get those cut down to length, I'm going to move my stop block to the total width of our cabinet box, and I'm going to use 2 scrap pieces of our plywood as spacers so we can make sure we get these nailers cut down to the perfect length. Now we need to cut a 1/4 inch dado in the sides and bottom components of our cabinet box to accept our 1/4 inch back panel. So I set the height of my blade to 3/8 of an inch, and then I use a scrap piece of plywood to get the correct spacing from the edge of each of our components. Then we run these through the table saw, and what you end up with is a 3/8 inch groove cut into each piece. And to get that groove cut to the right width for our back panel, we're going to move the table saw fence over about 1/8 of an inch and run it through again until it's the right size for our back panel. It's a good idea to go ahead and test fit this with your 1/4 inch plywood just to make sure it fits snug but not too tight. Then we're going to cut that same groove into the back of each of our sides, our bottom panel, and one of our nailers. And now I'm going to cut down our 1/4 inch plywood for our back panels. Now remember, since this fits into the groove, it's going to need to be 3/4 inches wider than the distance between your 2 sides. We also need to cut a dado into our side panels to accept the bottom of our cabinets. So I'm going to switch over to the dado stack in our table saw and set the blade at a height of 3/8 of an inch. And I'm going to set our fence so that it cuts this groove 4 inches from the bottom of our side. And you can see once we run this through the table saw, we have a nice 3/4 inch groove all the way down our side piece. And when you're cutting these dados, you want to keep in mind the orientation of each piece. So what you're going to want for each of your cabinet boxes is 2 sides that are opposite from one another. So you'll see we have a perfect book match set so that when you stand these up to create your cabinets, they're going to match up on both sides. And before we assemble everything, we're going to go ahead and give each piece a good sanding. Now I'm going to measure and mark for our toe kick on each of our sides. This is going to be 4 inches in from the corner, and once I have that marked out, I'm just going to cut it out with the jigsaw. Now we're ready for assembly. So once we have our sides laid out on the workbench, I'm going to go ahead and add some wood glue into the dado for the bottom of our cabinets, and then I'll set that into place. And a good tool for making sure you get all these perfectly square is these right angle clamps, and I will have a link to those in the description below. Now I'm going to do the same for the other side of our cabinet box and then clamp it in place while we let the glue dry. Now the sides of my cabinet are not going to be visible, so I'm also going to countersink and add some screws to hold everything together, but if the sides of your cabinet are visible, that glue is going to be more than enough to hold it together. Now I'm going to go back to those nailer strips. I'm going to add pocket holes onto each end of the nailers using the Craig 720 Pro. And remember, you're going to need 4 of these per cabinet box. Once you've got the sides and bottom of your cabinet box assembled, you can go ahead and drop in your 1/4 inch back panel, and you can see how it fits perfectly into those grooves we cut into the side and the bottom. Now we're ready to put on our nailers, and you'll remember we cut a 1/4 inch groove into one of our nailers, and that's what's going to lock that back panel into place. So I'm just going to put this in place, clamp it down, and attach it with pocket hole screws. We're also going to add one of these at the front part of our cabinet box. This is going to add a lot of strength. We're also going to add 2 of these in the back of our cabinet box, and the reason these are called nailers is because this gives you somewhere to screw or nail through when you're attaching these to your wall. I'm going to attach this top one with pocket hole screws. I'm also going to put in some screws through that top nailer just to secure these together. And now add the bottom nailer, and our cabinet box is pretty much complete. Now some of my cabinets are getting cabinet doors, and I want adjustable shelves inside of those cabinets. So to drill the holes for our shelf pins, I'm going to be using the Craig shelf pin jig. Our other cabinet is going to get drawers, and to get our drawer slides out beyond the face frames, I'm going to add in a few plywood strips in the location that I want my drawer slides to go. The easiest way that I've found to do this is to use some scrap wood as spacers to make sure you get these perfectly spaced on both sides. I'm just going to glue those strips down and secure them in place with brad nails. Now that the main body of our cabinet boxes are complete, I'm going to go ahead and finish them with some wipe-on polyurethane. Now I'm ready to build the face frame. So first I'm going to take some measurements, and then I'll go over to the miter station to cut down my 1x2s for the face frame. It's also going to be a good idea to go ahead and test fit these on your cabinet boxes before you assemble them to make sure it's going to fit perfectly. Your face frames are going to be made up of vertical and horizontal pieces. The vertical ones are called stiles and the horizontal ones are called rails. So I'm going to take the rails over to the Craig jig and put pocket holes on each end. Then I'll get these laid out on the workbench and fasten each piece together with wood glue and pocket hole screws. There are a few different ways to attach your face frames, but since the sides of my cabinets are not going to be visible, I'm going to be using pocket holes to attach mine. If you don't want to use pocket holes, you could use brad nails or just good old glue and clamps. Now my cabinets are going to be stained, so before I put the stain on here, I'm going to apply a little pre-stain to each of our face frames. And since mine are made of pine, I'm going to be using a gel stain. I find that the combination of pre-stain and gel stain works great for pine wood. Once that's had time to dry, I'm ready to attach it. So I'll apply a little wood glue on the face of each of our cabinet boxes, then I'll put the face frames in place, clamp them down, and secure it with pocket hole screws. One note here is that my face frame overhangs the bottom of my cabinet box about 3/4 of an inch so that it fits flush with the inside of the cabinet. And I'll just repeat that for each of my cabinet boxes. Now I'm ready to install the drawer slides, and I think this is much easier when you're able to lay the cabinet boxes down so you're not fighting against gravity. Now I'm going to mark out the location of each one and secure them in place according to the manufacturer instructions. With our cabinet boxes complete, I'm ready to put them in place and secure them together. Now before I screw these together, I want to make sure each one fits together perfectly, so I'm going to add a few clamps and secure them together using 1 1/4 inch cabinet screws. These are the same screws I'm going to be using later to secure it to the wall. Now we're almost done with these cabinet boxes. Next thing we're going to do, since we have them all together, is add the trim on our toe kick. And I'm just attaching mine with pocket hole screws. Now we're ready for doors and drawers. Now I'm going to be making separate videos showing you step by step how to build the doors and drawers for your cabinets. So we're just gonna run through this real quick so you can get a basic idea of the process. And if you want a more detailed video, I will have a link to those right here at the top of the screen as well as in the description below. Once those are built, the only thing left to do is get them installed. And again, I go over this in depth in those other videos, so make sure you check them out. Now our lower cabinets are complete and I couldn't be happier with how they turned out. All right guys, now that is it for how to build your own lower cabinets. There's a lot that goes into this, but once you know how to do it, it's really not too bad. And you could ultimately save yourself a lot of money by building them yourself. We're also going to be building some upper cabinets. So the process for that is very similar, but it is a little different. So we will be doing a video on how to build and hang your upper cabinets. So make sure you stay tuned for that. And we also need a countertop for this. And for that, we're going to be building our own DIY concrete countertop. So stay tuned for that, guys. And if you haven't done it yet, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. Hit that notification bell so you always get notified of new videos. As always, we're going to have links to all the tools we used in the description below, as well as digital plans that you can buy to show you step by step how to build these for yourself. And of course, if you're interested in getting some discount codes, behind the scenes content, early release videos, you can also join the Patriot DIY community, and I'll have a link to that in the description as well. Thanks for watching, guys. Please like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.